My name is Rebecca Yeager, and I'm the director of Peter and the Wolf.
I'm Daniel Cho, and I'm the assistant conductor of Alabama Symphony. It was composed by a Russian composer named Sergei Prokofiev in 1936. And actually a really great thing about the piece was that it was specifically commissioned for a children's theater in Moscow. And so I think the intention was for Prokofiev to create a piece that would teach children about instruments, the individual instruments and their qualities. And I think a great way he does that is by attaching each instrument to an animal. So that kind of can show, oh, a bird has, this is a flute that represents the bird and it has a high sound, and then the cat is represented by the clarinet and has kind of a low, lazy sound, and so on and so forth. So a way to introduce children to instruments. And it's just been, I think, many orchestras perform it annually. And it's really, really exciting for the Alabama Symphony to be doing it with Birmingham Children's Theater, because we actually get to have actors embody these animals instead of just a narrator. Kind of as great as the score is, I think the children will really enjoy seeing actual actors play these.
And it's a lot of fun for us as actors because we get to look at physicalizing a story a different way. Peter and the Wolf is a simple story. The script is really short. It's maybe 6 pages long, double spaced, which is a lot shorter than a typical show you see on main stage.
And kind of like nothing really happens.
Right?
In the story.
We have to find the arc and the structure. It's a different story than we're used to seeing. And so the actors get this chance to tap into a different side of storytelling, a different side of bringing a character to life. They get to really lean into inspiration from movement and music and nature in a way that you don't typically get to do, especially at children's theater when you have these big, bold characters happening. We get to be a little more nuanced and structured and let the orchestra really tell the story and support it. Because I'm a child of Birmingham, I grew up knowing the symphony orchestra and coming to Birmingham Children's Theater. And I remember in middle school, we studied Peter and the Wolf. That's when we started band and started picking instruments. And I believe we got the opportunity to hear this symphony then.
My first experience with the piece was as a part of the San Francisco Symphony Youth Orchestra. When I was a teenager, I played the violin in the ensemble. And the SFSYO, every year, they do a production at Christmas time for kids in San Francisco. We invite students and schools. And each year it's narrated by like a famous person. So the first year that I did it, it was Leonard Nimoy from Star Trek who narrated it. And he was amazing. He did it was funny hearing him do like the Duck's voice and this kind of serious Spock-like actor playing all these different animals. And so that was sort of my first encounter with the piece. And I remember being just blown away by how descriptive the music was. I play the violin, and I think my favorite part of the whole show is Peter's like up in a tree, and he's the wolf is underneath him, and he like lowers this rope to try to catch the wolf. And I remember being a violinist, and we have this kind of really high line, and it like creeps down to kind of symbolize the rope going down. So I just remember playing that, and just for the first time in the first rehearsal, and just being like, oh my God, this is the power of music. It's really like, this piece really means a lot to me, and I think the kids will just love it.
I think it's incredibly important that we expose children to art of all types, that we give them opportunities to hear, to experience, to participate in music, visual art, dance, theater, because they learn something about themselves, but they also learn about the world around them, about their friends. Theater specifically teaches empathy. It teaches understanding of different character types, of why we make the choices we do. It helps us test making choices before we have to make them. And I think children who participate in arts classes have that wonderful opportunity, but it's also given to children who come and see theatrical performances. They get to see characters who look like them make decisions in a place where the repercussions get played out more dramatically than it might in their life, but it allows them to think about their decisions before they make them because they've seen it happen on stage. I also think arts are incredibly important because they are linked to science and math and literature. They are a valuable resource in and of themselves, but children who have arts opportunities do better across the board in athletics and academics and just in their general lives.
There's nothing like that teaches discipline better than art. There's nothing that demonstrates for a child like, oh, I'm not going to reap the benefits of this unless I do this for a long period of time consistently. And I think there's like very few things in a child's life that really shows them that, and also cultivates passion for something. And then also, I don't know about you, but for me, I just remember being a kid and just trying to like figure out, oh, what am I supposed to be doing right now? What am I supposed to be saying right now? Like, how do I fit in with my friends? How do I make sure my parents aren't mad at me? Like, I just remember going about the world focused on those elements of life. But then it was through music and through art that I got to just take a pause and be like, wow, that's beautiful. And I think there aren't many times as a child where you get to experience that outside of art. And so having something, at least for me, consistently growing up, where I, on a weekly basis, when I was in rehearsal or, you know, in doing a concert or something like that, and I had that moment of like, oh my gosh, I'm a part of something that is giving me this feeling that like I'm flying, is I think that's what life is about. And just to like give kids a chance to just feel the beauty of life and to feel not that stress, but that kind of like, oh, anything is possible, I can do anything.
It's a sense of empowerment and belonging that you get, even if you're sitting in this audience or if you're on this stage. Either way, you know that you're not alone.
Yeah, and the empowerment through human connection, because there are these people on stage who are sharing something with you, and you're like, oh, I feel what they are communicating, so we are the same. So then that kind of feeling of like, oh, we're in this together, we're in this room together, and we are experiencing this one large thing together.
Yeah, it's my favorite theater word is catharsis.
Catharsis.
Because I love a big group of people who are very, very different from one another coming together to sit in a room and experience a theater piece or a symphony piece or a ballet piece, and all feeling something together at the same time.
Yeah,
it's so humanizing.
And this piece specifically, Peter and the Wolf, is he's composed it specifically for children to experience a very particular kind of catharsis. That I think there are a few moments in like when the wolf first emerges and like the horns have this kind of sinister theme, and then we're gonna have one of the actors come out and acting like a wolf, and it's just, I think the kids are just gonna feel this kind of safe fear that all together, and like everything about the production will point to, you should be feeling this fear, and they will, and then that'll create
and
this.
It's okay that you feel it.
And
right
it's okay, yes.
I think when you're working towards a common goal, it's important that you do it together. And while we may have two different art forms, we have the same root, and we have the same goal of making really high quality art for our communities. And so it's silly not to work together to do that, right? It just makes sense that we would do our best work together to give Birmingham the opportunity to continue that tradition of generations of a family sitting together to experience a piece of theater.
Yeah, I think it's interesting for me to sit in the rehearsal for Peter and the Wolf and to see how the actors are and the director is thinking about this music. And this is music that I've sat with for almost my entire life, and I'm kind of feeling new things about the music and thinking about, oh, you know, they're asking these questions about these animals, and so how can I reflect what they're trying to reflect when I'm leading the orchestra and trying to bring out what they're trying to bring out. So it's like we're like elevating each other and pushing each other, which is like really, really exciting to me. Yeah, I think with Alabama Symphony specifically, it's the only full-time orchestra in the state of Alabama, and being a full-time orchestra just comes with its own level uh, of like the standard of music making is just very, very high. And so being able to offer that to the state of Alabama, not just Birmingham, we go out all out into the community, to different counties, and to be able to do that is something that we are very, very passionate about, and specifically to collaborate with an organization like Birmingham Children's Theater that has such a storied history in this city, we feel kind of really makes Birmingham into a community, makes it into a real city, and I think that's what makes a community, is people working together, building things together, sharing expertise with each other, and seeing where they can fit together, where they don't fit together, and how we can try to make them fit together. So yeah, I'm just so excited about this project.
Me too. As part of the run of Peter and the Wolf, we will be offering a Spanish language performance on Sunday, October 6th. And this is a really wonderful opportunity for us to open the doors and invite people into Birmingham Children's Theater who may not have the opportunity to hear in this city art happening in their own language.
Classical music historically is a field of art that is from a specific place, that comes from specific people, and historically I think has made other groups outside of that feel excluded and feel like they don't belong within that space. We as musicians, and we just as a field in general, are starting to think, how are we going to fit into a modern world, and how are we going to become like valuable to a modern society? And the answer we have come to, and the only real way to do that, is by reaching out to people who have historically felt excluded. And so I think that's part of the reason why we really wanted to do a Spanish language version of this production, was so that we can not just open our doors and say, hey, come on in, you're invited, and then not change anything we do, but we can actively reach out to communities that historically have been excluded from our space and say, hey, this is for you also, we are thinking of you also, and we want to serve you also. And so that's I think what we want to do with this Spanish version.
And I think the easiest thing to do is translate words from one language to another, right? It's such a simple way of saying, this offering is also for you. And here is a way in, because we're not changing the music, we're not changing the movement, we are just opening it up to people who speak a different language than some of our other audience members. We're offering it in more than one language so that more people can find a home in the theater. Music is a universal language, movement is a universal language, and if just changing the text to a different language other than English makes our community more inclusive and fuller, it's a simple step to take.
I'm most excited about this production. This is my first time, so this is like a purely selfish answer, but this is my first time ever conducting Peter and the Wolf. And I think it's like some of the most beautiful, exciting, just like sparkly music that we have in classical music. And Prokofiev specifically is such an interesting composer in that he was not afraid to create like ugliness and show that ugliness in sound can also be beautiful, and then to juxtapose ugliness with beauty makes beauty even more beautiful. And so he's one of my favorite composers and one that speaks to me the most. So this will be my very first time conducting. Not that it's about me, but if I were to give a selfish answer, that is why I'm so excited, because this is a piece I've been living with for more than half my life, and one that I really, really love. And one of the reasons I started a career in music was pieces like this. And so to be able to conduct it with an incredible orchestra filled with musicians who are just it blows my mind how talented they are. And then not only that, but to do it with Birmingham Children's Theater and to do it for children with actors is just like, it makes me just so grateful to be here.
I am most excited about returning to the roots of storytelling, that we get music and movement and just simple stories that connect people together, that we get to take away lots of frills and let this powerful music and these powerful stories speak for themselves. Birmingham Children's Theater is proud to present Peter and the Wolf in partnership with
Alabama Symphony Orchestra
on October 5th, 12th, and October 6th in Spanish. Get your tickets at
BCT123.org.